Stories of an Aircraft Builder. The aircraft was built, the book was written, and the discussion and research in relevant specialist circles continued. My work on the drawings also progressed. In the meantime, there were 70 sheets of drawings in A2 format. And of course, I wanted to finance my further work through sales. I designed a small advertisement in which I offered my drawings, which was published several times in World War I Aero 2. Once with a few sentences by Leonard Opdyke, to which he added some photos of my first replica and some sample drawings from my pen. I'd be happy to read the small section to you. My little advertisement read as follows: Fokker DR1 construction plans of the highest German standard quality, not just for an ordinary replica, but for a real Fokker DR1 as it flew in 1917. Nothing has been removed, added or changed. Sample drawings and information $5. In Germany 7 marks. Write to Achim Engels, Silberhalde 12, 7060 Schorndorf, Germany. He then continued and said, Achim Engels, Germany, has undertaken a number of monumental projects, the first of which is now complete. He wanted to produce the best possible set of design drawings for the Fokker DR1, getting help from all over the world, and he wanted to build a full-size repro to test the drawings. His set is now available. See his advert elsewhere on this page. And we are printing a few of his plates as samples. He notes that there are about 70 sheets offered at a price of $600 per set, including postage, rolled except for the large fuselage plan, which is folded and sent by plane. The text is in German, but Achim can provide an English translation for an additional $20. The plane is now finished too. Photos accompany this article, and it is in the old Pfalz factory, now the Technikmuseum in Speyer. Achim has approached these projects and those to come from a historian's perspective. He wants to preserve aviation history through research into structures, drawings and actual full-scale recreations, not replicas, Achim. He is working on the Hübner monoplane. Peter Cohoes has written an article for us that will appear as soon as we have space, and he and Achim are working on the design drawings for that. He has completed the drawings for the Lilienthal Normalsegel apparatus. We are printing them separately under drawings in this issue. He wants to build 3 Lilienthal gliders. The first folding glider with 14 square meters wing area, the normal sail apparatus with 13 square meters and the large biplane with 18 square meters. Perhaps we can persuade Achim to use Gustav's ornithopter for a future project. Well, the ad copy was a bit exaggerated of course, but that was the whole project anyway. I was amazed at how well the drawings were received. I was actually able to sell numerous complete sets. Since then, several airplanes have been built based on my drawings, and they fly of course. But it's the same with Ron Sands' drawings. Anyone who builds based on his drawings doesn't hang the Sands name on a big banner. And then there are those who get several drawings from different makers and then decide for themselves what they want to do and how. There are now a number of aircraft in all possible degrees of perfection. Kermit Weeks, for example, bought one of my first sets of drawings, which were available very early on, but I don't think he ever built a triplane with it. Shortly after that, he experienced the sad disaster of Hurricane Andrew. And sad as it may sound, maybe it blew my drawings away too. But it wasn't just large aircraft that were built from my drawings. Countless model aircraft were also built from them, and one evening the phone rang and a man named Gary Coase was on the other end of the line. He told me that he had spoken to Leonard Opdyke and others and had also seen my advertisement for the plans in World War I Aero. He owned a company called Fine Art Models, and produced and sold exclusive collector's models of locomotives, ships, vehicles, and even airplanes. His latest plan was to produce a series of fighter planes from the First World War in 1/15 scale. He was thinking of producing a limited edition Fokker 1 based on my drawings. Great! I was excited. I told him that I saw this as a historical research project and that he would be happy to have the drawings in return for a royalty payment for completed and sold models. After all, one of his models should bring in $7,500. He agreed that 15% would belong to me. I told him that the drawing still contained some errors that needed to be corrected. He said that this could be done during the production of the prototype. I should communicate very closely with his chief model maker Dimitri, which I then did. It turned out to be a nice project, but things went a little differently than expected. Designing the prototype with all my requested changes compared to my drawings, especially since many of them were rather tiny, turned out to be difficult, especially since at the time we only corresponded by fax. Email didn't exist yet, at least for me at that time. We then went about the whole thing by building 2 prototypes, one by me and one by Dimitri's team in parallel. There was a daily exchange in which sketches of the model I had built were sent to him and vice versa. And so I created a wonderful model in 1/15 scale, entirely in keeping with my spirit of historical research and correcting potential errors. Everything was changed in the drawings and passed on to Dimitri also. As is the case with such projects that are carried out in a decentralized manner, there were of course some differences between my model and the prototype of the fine art models. Nothing tragic, just small differences. One day Gary Coase visited me and took my model with him to present it at the upcoming International Toy Fair at Nuremberg. I was also invited, and it was a great fun and very impressive. I met people with far too much money, for whom $7,500 for such a model was no problem at all. It wasn't even an issue. Later the selling price was even increased to 10,000 something. His model was left with its small errors and sold to customers as it was. He took my model after the show with him to America and exhibited it in his premises there. But that was the last friendly thing I heard from him. All contact was broken off and I never received any payments. Of course, there were contracts, and naive as I was, I believed that they offered some kind of security. After several unsuccessful friendly attempts to get my model and receive my license payments, I dared to go to a lawyer, who then sued Mr. Coase and his company. That was fun. Mr. Coase had lawyers I could only dream of. At some point, he deigned to at least send me my model back, which thankfully only arrived slightly damaged. Today it is the crown jewel of my collection. The Coase issue was over for me at the beginning of 1999. And anyone who wants to take the trouble to look at the Fine Art Models website will still find the page for the triplane that was built based on my drawings. The model shown there is, however, the second prototype with the small errors mentioned which Dimitri built at the time. This gave me a taste of what was to come, but I still had a few years to go until then. But at first, I was so offended and angry that I thought, if he can do it, I can do it too. And so I founded my own little company called the Fine Art Collector's Edition and set up my website, the first task of which was to offer small limited models. Of course, they had to be models that were special and that I could make them myself. The backbone of this was my small triplane and a series of Lilienthal gliders, of which I made all 18 pieces in 1/15 scale to match the size of the triplane. They all came in an oak case with real glass. I also designed a small brochure, one of which still exists, I can show it to you. Few were sold, and transporting them was very difficult, so I soon gave up. It just wasn't worth the trouble. The remaining Lilienthal models are still part of my museum today. I write remaining because I loaned them all to the Lilienthal Museum in Anklam for several years. When I got them back after I wanted to set up my museum, only 6 of the 18 models of them came back. The rest had strangely disappeared without a trace. Things happen. My anger over Gary Coase has since passed, and I have realized that people just are like that. Out of curiosity, I looked at his website again and was delighted to see the triplane, but then I read that he had apparently died in the meantime. Well, I was still kind of sad.